like a ponytail and shit, and he's like going to a town hall, and he's pitching like this giant like 300 square foot mosque.
Yeah.
So funny.
Fun games.
I have two brothers. My older brother is 22. I'm 20. And my little brother's 12. We all have different temperaments. We've been playing video games all our life. The video games have ranged from very aggressive to not violent at all. My little brother, he's a very angry child. He likes to hit a lot, complain a lot, scream a lot. I'm a very calm kid. I'm not violent at all. My older brother, he's a mix of both. Gaming today is more prevalent than ever. According to Entertainment Software Association, over 166 million adults in the United States play video games, and 3/4 of all Americans have at least one gamer in their household. A lot of people associate violent video games with aggressive behavior in children. According to Medical Express, they note that game playing did on occasion result in angry outbursts, but the researchers checked it up to normal behavior that arises during competitive play. Now, what are you going to get out of this speech? Well, gaming will always just become more and more prevalent each time, and once we become parents, at one point we're going to have to make a decision. We're going to have to figure out whether we want our kids to play games, how much we want them to play games. What are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about the problem, which is the fact that there's a lot of faulty articles, and parents like blaming the fact that video games lead to aggressive behaviors, the cause of this, how we can solve, and opposing views. So, there's a lot of articles that are faulty, and not all of them are always true, but a lot of them like to say that video games has a positive correlation with aggressive behavior. A lot of times parents just read the article and they come to that conclusion right away. If they see a pattern in gaming, aggression, so right away they're always going to link it. Today there's been a lot of outbursts such as school shootings on the rise, and President Trump, he actually stated that video game violence is linked to more school shootings. An article known as Virtual Violence that was published 3 years ago stated that all the media in today society, like having your phones, their computers at ease, seeing all this fighting going on, all this violent behavior, and all the violent games that are very graphic are not good for the kids. It's just gonna always make them be more aggressive. How do we get to this point? Well, in an article that Joanne Orlando wrote, known as Curious Kids, Why Do Adults Think Video Games Are Bad? She goes on saying that parents and kids look at video games as two different things. Kids think that games are just fun, they do it to pass time. Parents think it's a way that takes away from their childhood, from going outside and stuff. Parents think that playing the violent video games will cause them to be more aggressive. There's also been a rise in school shootings, so a lot of parents also think that the games they played affected this. A study published by ZME Science a couple of months ago basically looked over a bunch of articles that had conflicting viewpoints. A lot of them said that video games did lead to aggressive behavior, and a lot of them said that it didn't. But what this article explained was the fact that all those, many of the articles that stated there was a relationship didn't have enough evidence to actually back the findings, so you couldn't really trust it. But these are the articles that a lot of people see. What can we do to stop this? Well, instead of just reading the headline and coming to the conclusion right there, parents could actually fully read the article to see what was done. Parents can also limit the time spent on each game. A study from Psychology Today said that there's not solid, irrefutable evidence that violent video games lead to aggressive behavior, but that does not mean that every game is for every child. A lot of times, instead of playing all these shooting games, they can just play normal sports games where there's a little bit of violence. Parents can also take responsibility for their parenting styles. In an article from National Center for Health Research, they said that it is important to keep in mind that violent video games exposure is only one risk factor to aggressive behavior. A way a kid is brought up is always a big issue, always a big reason of why, of how their temperament is. So there's always going to be people that go against what's being said. Parents will say their parenting style is fine, they won't take responsibility. They also didn't grow up with these games, so they don't know how it actually affects them. But parents will always think, just because kids play video games, if there's any type of graphic content in it, that's the reason that they're becoming more aggressive. But what we don't as parents can take a step back, actually look at their parenting style, because a lot of times it comes down to temperament. And they can look back at all these quotes that I said, basically saying that a lot of these articles that they read are actually faulty and don't have enough evidence to back, and that there's more than one reason of why a kid may be aggressive. So, what was the problem at hand? The fact that there's a lot of faulty articles that parents read that claim video games actually lead to aggressive behavior. Why is this happening? Because of the faulty articles and the increase in school shootings. And what can we do? We can actually read the studies. Parents can limit time spent on different games, and parents can also take responsibilities. There's always going to be opposing views, but as long as they get the right facts, they should know where they're heading. So, my brothers and I, we all have different temperaments, and we all play video games, but video games did not affect how we actually came about. Yeah. So, got any questions?
I have a question. So it seems like you're saying it's more of a nature versus nurture type of situation going on here.
Yeah.
Which, like, I understand, but what could you speak to the language used in chat rooms for a violent video game versus a E-rated video game?
Well, I'm sure every kid is going to be different, and I'm sure it's going to be more aggressive, but as long as it's filtered correctly, the chat will not exceed a certain aggressive level.
Okay.
I have a question. Do you think that this relates to sports games as well?
What, the hitting in it?
Yeah, for example, like in hockey, if they check them really hard, then a kid's going to want to go and do that on the ice.
I'm sure that influences each kid's decision, but I don't think that just because they see hitting in hockey, they're going to want to go hit someone outside.
Interesting.